Are we live?
Indeed, we are.
What's going on?
What's going on, indeed?
What's
Kick it off for rap shit, babe.
Rap shit.
Get into it.
I shoot the lights out.
Oh.
I hide till it's bright out. Oh, just another lonely night. Are you willing to sacrifice your life?
Yeah, I am. I know this.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Monster. And the part you were rapping was Kanye West's part.
Fair enough.
Man. It's so iconic. I shoot the lights out.
Yeah. I just thought that because it wasn't being said in like the way it's being said. I was like, maybe she won't.
Just another lonely night. Oh yeah. Are you willing to sacrifice your life? Yeah, man. That's Monster, bro. That's Monster. Easy. Next.
Word. I get it. Hey.
Easy.
Hey.
Next.
That's what it is. You got it. That was probably the fastest one.
Yeah. Shout out to me.
Yeah.
You feel me? I did. Hey, Rolo. Everybody say hi to Rolo. Listen. Hey, y'all. Welcome back.
What's happening?
How y'all feeling?
It's good.
Y'all all right out there?
So we're recording this a day after Election Day in the States. I don't know if we have any international listeners, but yeah. And Donald Trump will be our 47th?
47.
Yeah, 47th.
47.
President.
For sure.
He won in a pretty
fair and square.
Fair, full win. That was a full...
He beat her.
Yeah, he beat her.
I think he needs a 35th conviction for assault. Because he beat her. He beat her bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did we want to... I guess we can start with that, or did you want to do your intro? Because we didn't do the intro yet.
Yeah, let's go ahead and welcome the people before we get into the doom and gloom.
Welcome.
Okay, welcome to the One Thing for Certain podcast, y'all, with myself, Ali King, and my husband,
Carrot King.
We talk about all the things that married people like to talk about, and today our subject is going to be a grim one. But, we're not going to stay there. So if you want a place where you can feel okay with airing your grievances, okay, but also looking for a bit of light at the end of that tunnel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, okay?
Share that thing.
Comment, subscribe, tell a friend and tell a friend, share it, get your partner and them to come through and have a good time with us. Look, we're just going to talk about the things. It is the day after the 2024 general election.
Indeed.
In which Donald J. Trump won in like we said, a very clear victory against Vice President Kamala Harris. And Carrick is going to just run through some of those facts of the night for you guys if you weren't watching all night like we were.
Right. So I just want to give a kind of synopsis of, if that's the right way to pronounce that, synopsis?
Yeah.
Of the situation. So to start, Trump won. He is the first Republican to win a popular vote since Bush in 2004.
Daddy Bush or Junior Bush?
2004, Junior Bush.
Okay.
First Republican to win the popular vote, and I'll get into the numbers of that in a second. He's the first convicted criminal. As we all know, he has 34 criminal convictions, or if you didn't know, he has 34 criminal convictions, and he's also the first person to win with 2 impeachments under his belts. So
that impeachment list is already a very short list of presidents who have been impeached.
It's just like Nixon, right?
It's like 2 before, Nixon, someone else,
Gerald
and then
Ford or something.
Yeah.
But so that he's the oldest president to be elected at 78.
Oh wow.
And he virtually won every swing state. So for those who don't know, swing states are the states that kind of make up for the Electoral College. I think they make up 93 points. between the 7 of them. And these are the states where it could usually go either way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of campaigning that happens in these states. These states are Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and good old Georgia.
Georgia.
Um,
So those states are also states that are purple, if you will.
Yeah, swing states.
Very even population of Republicans and Democrats that show up.
Also called battleground states.
Correct.
So let's get into the numbers. So the vote in regards to the popular vote, the total amount of votes counted. I think they're still counting votes, so these numbers will change a bit. But right now we're around 139, maybe 140 million people that have casted their vote and has had their vote counted so far. Kamala is at 67 million votes roughly. Donald Trump is at 72 million. So there's a 5 million voter difference there. As far as the Electoral College is concerned, again, Donald Trump won virtually every swing state. The only state that I think we don't know about yet is Nevada at the time of this recording.
And at the time of this recording, it's going his direction. So
okay, that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So
if he, if it turns out that he won that state, he will have won every swing state.
Yikes.
Everyone.
So, as far as the electorals go, excluding Nevada, since we don't know yet, Kamala's at 226 and Trump is at 295. So you need 270 to win. Trump hit that last early morning.
Early in the morning.
Yeah, early in the morning.
Around 5 a.m.
Some more numbers in comparison to the 2020 election when it was Trump versus Biden. So when it comes on to the amount of people that voted, in 2020, the amount of people that voted for Trump was 74 million, which is down about 2 million from a little more than 2 million actually from the 2024 election. And the vote for Biden in 2020 was 81 million. Harris in 2024, like I said, she got about 67 million. So the difference there is about 14.8 million, about 15 million people, less people
that voted in totality.
Democrat in between 2020 and 24. That decrease is about 15 million people. And so both parties lost voters. It wasn't a historic voter turnout in terms of totality of total votes, but it is interesting to see the decrease, especially considering for Democrats and what they run on. There were less people that were emboldened to either vote or got swung. Obviously, 15 million people did not just walk to the Republican side of things. Most of those people just didn't get the fuck up and vote.
Yeah, they stayed
for
home.
whatever reason, right? So that's something to consider.
Or potentially voted for a third party.
Which
is basically like staying home.
Yeah, sure.
It is.
Some other things that kind of came up as I was kind of looking at all of the different data and the feelings that I've seen on Instagram, listening to the radio, listening to various news places and things like that. A lot of the things that kind of came up was, one, as far as like the Democrats are concerned and how they handled it, we looking at the Biden campaign and how much that impacted, and the things that the grievances people have with the Biden campaign, with the Biden administration, and how that had an impact on Kamala. And so we think about the immigration topic, and there are a lot of grievances in regards to how that's being handled. It is a bipartisan issue. It's not just something that is a part of like the wall or people coming into the country via Mexico or what have you. It's also the side of sanctuary states and how we have certain states like New York who have set themselves up and is designated as a place where migrants can flow into, and they will be guaranteed some level of like security and safety. The caveat to that, and the unfortunate part of that, is that the handling of it, as far as the citizens of those states, their perspective is that it wasn't handled very well. They were kind of treated as, they were essentially neglected. You look at a place like New York, where to house these migrants that are coming in, I think like 20,000 migrants or something like that, students were being booted from their high school because they were using their high school as a sanctuary shelter for these people. And they definitely need shelter, but it was used at the expense of children going to school,
Right.
children going to libraries and these public spaces that were designated for them and their education and stuff like that. And it was a lot of grievances there with parents.
So essentially, the infrastructure that was supposed to be set up for these sanctuary cities were not. And so the citizens of these cities, these, American citizens, taxpaying citizens, had to essentially endure the brunt of that impact without any government assistance.
They either put them in remote classes, and we know from 2020 how that has a toll on the education system, especially those more formative years of like middle school and high school. And so
And
having
on the
to
parents
do remote,
as well.
and on the parents as well. And then also they had like this remote school or place that they were telling them that they would have to go to, and it was just this abrupt change that people weren't ready for. And it just kind of felt like they were like, you guys step to the side while we figure this out, and
Right.
we'll just worry about y'all later. So that was something that popped up. The other thing that popped up that unfortunately kind of, I think, had an influence on Kamala's campaign is the Biden's administration, as far as they were handling the Ukraine situation with Russia, as well as the Israel situation with Hamas. And so there's a lot of people that felt like this administration, which, Kamala is the vice president, this administration is sending billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to support these causes, justifiably so. However, that was not given, that energy was not given to some of the issues and the infrastructure that we needed for our citizens here. When you talk about homelessness, when you talk about the cuts in the education budget constantly, when you talk about the economy and inflation and all of these things, it's kind of, and education and student loan debt and all of these different things that really
Rising
require
housing
money.
costs, minimal housing availability,
The
Social Security, my God, Medicaid, like
right.
all of these, very American and continuous, and like you were saying earlier, bipartisan issues that have been clear to American citizens as something that needs to be figured out. Again, immigration, border security, all of those things. Yet and still, we're shipping. But we used to say all the time, like Ukraine is the baby mama that America is trying to hide.
Yeah, they got
from
pictures
the world.
of America in a back room or something.
100%. Y'all treating Ukraine like Tyler's BM. Like y'all like who is all this money going to? You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
yeah.
So that was something that was a point of contention for a lot of voters, especially young voters. When you talk about Hamas and Israel, when you talk about Ukraine and war in general, young voters don't do very well, or haven't been doing very well, and haven't been very kind in regards to how they see Biden and by proxy Kamala. So that was another thing. So we went over somewhat of an immigration thing, somewhat of the level of support externally that the U.S. has been giving when there's no internal support, or it feels like there's no internal support for the issues that's occurring within our economy. The other thing that also came up as far as the Democratic Party, not so much as like Biden or Kamala, is that the DNC did not do a very good job of, one, they kept Biden as the nominee for a very long time, too long, and they also did not hold a primary, in lieu of expecting that and saying that Biden will be the candidate for the 2024 ticket.
Yeah, he said that he was going to seek re-election, and because of that, he was only going to be going against his incumbent, and so it put us in a bad position when it was evident, especially after his abysmal showing at the July presidential debate. It was clear that we were beating a dead horse.
Right. And so the longer I think with Kamala's attachment to Joe Biden as the vice president, I think that also played a huge part in the perception of what Kamala represented, because it felt like Kamala just represented what Joe represented.
A Biden administration part 2.
Right. So to shift to Kamala a bit, this is a bit easier of a thing. So let's talk about time. So on July 20, you mentioned July in the debate. July 21st is when Kamala got the call that Joe Biden was going to step down and that she was going to be at the top of the ticket. That was July 21st. That gave her 109 days. A week later is when she actually officially confirmed. I think it was a week later. It might have been the weekend of that. But a few days later.
We could hear the Democratic Party scrambling. They were like, as they were listening to the debate, they were shuffling shit around. We could hear it in the background.
Yeah, that gave her 109 days to campaign. Unprecedented.
Yeah.
You're talking about campaigning for 109 days against a person, Donald Trump, who has literally been campaigning since for 2024,
he lost the 2020 election.
He lost the 2020 election.
That's right.
So 4 years of campaigning versus a 90-day probationary period for campaigning.
Come on.
That's not.
We're talking about a fiscal quarter that she had to turn an entire race around to start a completely new race. Yeah.
It would have been incredible if she won, but it was a hell of an uphill battle that they put her in.
It was virtually impossible.
So there's that, and then the perspective on the economy. Trump just, I think, made people believe that it is his hands that the country is best in regards to putting money back in people's pockets. Again, we talk about inflation, houses rising in cost, interest rates rising, and all the different things. Groceries, eggs is $8. All of these different things is currently happening under the Biden administration. Whether or not it's their problem is irrelevant, because Trump made it change the perspective to ensure that people believed that he would be able to fix it.
Right.
And so it worked. Now, it is interesting because when we talk about the economy, there are a few things, campaign points that Kamala did roll out that directly addressed the economy, not just for America, but also for people in the minority groups, the black and brown groups. So Kamala is talking, she was talking about laying out, $25,000 of assistance for first home buyers. That's a direct economy thing. Building more homes, a direct economy thing. A $6,000 tax credit for child tax credit. That's an economy thing. Loan forgiveness for small businesses up to like $20,000. If you want to start a small business, you can get $20,000 and not have to pay that loan back to some extent. These are all things that should be a great injection into the economy, and that she talked about ad nauseum, but for some reason it did not stick.
Nope, just
whether it was the time in which she had, or whether it was the way it was presented to the American people, it just was not something that was able to cancel out.
I personally think it's because of the demographic who the general masses thought that it would apply to. The majority thought that a lot of the economic assistance that she was offering was not for them. It was for others. It was for black and brown people. That was the perception. And I think generally we have to remember that we are still a part of a minority.
Yes. We as in
There
black
are
people
just
make up
more.
14%, I believe, of the country.
13%.
13% of the country's population.
Yep.
So
13.
Yeah, so let's look at the exit polls for a second and talk about the voter groups and where everyone kind of fell on voting. So I just want to make sure and bear with me for a second because this is a lot of information. I'm trying to get in one quick summary. So here's where in 2020, because we're comparing it, in 2020 when we talk about Latino voters, 65% of them voted Democrat in 2020, right? That number dropped to 53% in 2024. Young voters, 60% of them voted Democrat in 2020. 55% of them voted Democrat in 2024. So there's a dip there.
Yep.
Women, 57% of women voted Democrat in 2020. 54% voted Democrat in 2024.
With a woman at the top of a ticket.
Now when we flip, right. Now when you flip.
Just let that resonate. We got more women to vote. Yeah. We got more because your perspective on this is just different from my perspective as far as like what the causation. I don't refute anything that you're saying.
I'm just laying out.
Yeah, you're just laying out the landscape. I think that all of that pales in comparison to the two main issues that I personally believe contributed primarily to Kamala's loss. And it's the fact that she is a woman, and it's the fact that she is black, and the majority of Americans do not look like her. The majority of Americans saw her as a representation of the progress of the institution of America that would mean that they no longer were the majority. It would solidify the shifting in the perspective of who this nation is for. And America said in a resounding scream that we would rather hire a felon than a woman, and especially a woman of color, because the only other woman who's ever made it this far is Hillary Rodham Clinton, and she lost. And she lost worse than she did in the 2016 election. She did. And so it's no surprise to anyone who's a person of color that if a white woman couldn't beat a white man, then a black woman probably couldn't do it.
Especially in 109 days.
Especially in 109 days. But we were hopeful. But it is just clear. It is clear what America wants. Continue.
So some of the other, I'm just going to call out a couple of these other exit polls. So vote for president, men under 30. 56% of men under 30 voted for Trump. 38% voted for Harris. Trump made gains with Latino voters, both nationally and in some key battleground states. The Latino voters, for Latino men, 44% voted for Kamala Harris, 54% voted for Donald Trump. As far as black men are concerned, 79% voted for Harris in North Carolina, for example. 20% voted for Trump. In Georgia, the amount of the conversion of the independent vote. So there's for people who don't know. So there's always a third party, sometimes four, but there's always usually just a minimum, a third green party that people throw their votes to. It's never expected for them to win or gain any kind of traction, but people vote, cast their ballots for that nonetheless. And so people want to watch for the exit polls how many of those compare and like the conversion rate of being an independent vote that was casted and turning that into a Democratic or Republican vote. And so for independents, that conversion was 43% voted for Kamala Harris, but 54% voted for Donald Trump. So that shows that those that were voting independent in the past, more of them converted to vote Republican, vote for Donald Trump, more so than Kamala Harris.
Yep.
Nationally, more voters thought that views of Donald Trump were more extreme when they asked them about certain questions about what was kind of driving his campaign and what they felt about him. Most voters thought that his views were very extreme in comparison to Harris, but roughly 1 in 10 of those voters backed him anyway. And so it really kind of gives you a good little picture and insight to what happened. And it is something to be said about Trump winning both of his presidential 2 out of the 3 of his presidential campaigns. He won, and they were won against women, despite his track record with women. And you can look that up with a quick Google search. It's very ironic that he was able to beat 2 women, even though his track record with women is not great. And so that is definitely a middle finger to women in that regard.
Oh, was women sticking up a middle finger to themselves?
You know, I mean that too.
You said 52%.
52. So
52% of women voted for Donald Trump.
I can maybe try to find the other statistics.
Yeah, you can go ahead and fact check that while I just kind of make my closing remarks about this. We heard Kamala Harris say a lot during her presidential, campaign that we know who Donald Trump is. She said that a lot of times. What I think a lot of people in our community and people who supported her forgot is that Donald Trump, we know who Donald Trump is, and who he is a reflection of who America is. And we thought that because we didn't see him as a reflection of who we are, that meant that America would not think the same. But that's just not true.
It's in fact the opposite.
It is in fact the opposite. We have to remember that we are still the minority. And for large progressive candidates to win, it takes the buy-in of the majority. We need to be able to shave off a considerable amount from the majority in order to make these things happen, right? What I think that Donald Trump spoke to American people was to a future that still kept them in mind. I think, like I said before, that the majority of Americans do not look like us, do not have the same issues as us. And like we were saying before, cash is king, money, the economy, all of those things are what is most important to the majority of Americans. Obviously, making more money, being able to secure a lifestyle and an income that can sustain your family is important to everyone, right? However, that in conjunction with preserving the stature and the socioeconomic standing of the majority of the people who live in this country is also important. And that has a lot of, racial and sexist connotations. It just does. The majority of Donald Trump's base is non-college educated white men under the age of 30.
I wouldn't say it's a majority, but it's a good chunk.
It's a good chunk. It's a good chunk of his base. And so when you are looking at a woman who is college educated, who is a litigator, who is without question one of the most experienced candidates to ever run, and the fact that she was running against a convicted felon who is a fascist, not by hyperbole, by the words of one of his own former chief of staffs, right? Someone who has been convicted of sexual assault and just a myriad of other things, incited an insurrection, never conceded his loss in the 2020 presidential election. All of these things all of that paled in comparison to the threat of the loss of their socioeconomic stature and position in this country. If she is the representation of that type of change, then I do not see myself reflected in that future. And so the majority of Americans said that we would rather vote for that guy than for her. And that is just it. All of these other really like nuanced and incredibly complex and valid points that you brought up, all of that works for a normal Republican candidate. All of those things, if she had lost to someone like that, I could say fair. But to lose against someone whose ineptitudes, whose inadequacies, whose felonious reputation,
That's a good word.
okay, meant nothing. Meant absolutely nothing.
I think too, just, you know, he is not a normal candidate, but this was also not a normal campaign. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. 109 days.
Yeah.
109
No, that would have
days.
been
Not
difficult for any candidate. I'm just saying that there is, in my opinion, there is nothing that Donald Trump could have ever done for me that could have ever won my vote, ever. I would have voted for Rolo.
Okay.
Before.
See that that idea is what we see as a voter. You can say that and believe it, and you can say it out loud. You can put it in polls and all the other stuff. As a party looking to solicit votes and bring energy. I just told you guys about the numbers between 2020 and 2024 and how there was 15 million people less that voted for Kamala Harris versus what happened with Biden, and the level of like electrifying to get people to get up and vote. They lean to me. Yeah. Now I'm not talking about data. Now I'm just giving you my little thoughts, and then I'll give you my closing remarks. That they think that as well as someone soliciting the vote. We can say that in jest, but they can't just put out any. That's why they had Joe Biden out there for 85% of the campaign trail. They had him out there because they figured, hey, they'd vote for him anyway. That is the logic, to me, that they use. That same logic that we said, and we said it before in different election, the other election, we would vote for carrots. We would vote. People were writing in Kanye. People were writing it. There was someone that wrote in like No Name or something, and it got huge press and all this other stuff because people were gaining on like starting to do it too, because people are weird. You start doing one thing and then all of a sudden the whole country is doing it. Like that type. They look at that and they go, I mean, it can't be that big of a deal. We could just make this switch up real quick and it'd be fine, because they said that they would vote for a dog over him. So they had voted for him before. And that's the part that's so I mean, I thought he should have never been the candidate in 2020 in the first place. We didn't get a chance. Here, the other thing is, we didn't even get a chance to. We knew that it would be best that Joe Biden be a one-term president. I think everyone could understand that, despite him saying that he would want to have a second term. I think it was best. And everyone could agree, and even certain people in the Democratic Party could agree that he should have been a one-term president. That's not a bad thing, no, like at all. In fact, the amount of presidents that have 1-2 terms in a row is very small. Like, it's not a lot of presidents that have done that. So the fact that he was able to run, even though run for a second term, even though the Democratic Party knew that there was other candidates that could have been presented. We didn't get a primary. We didn't get, it felt like we didn't get a choice. Right. And when you don't feel like you have a choice, what do? Most people will say fuck it if you don't have a choice. If you're gonna tell me that every time I vote it's the vote of my life, and then the time that we have to vote, you tell me, oh no, you're gonna vote, this is who we have. This is who we're gonna put out there, and this is what this. It's either take it or leave it.
I
There's
think
only so many times you can do take it or leave it,
I
bro.
think they overestimated the tactic of we just want to beat Trump. I think they overestimated the tactic of we just
Yeah,
want to beat Trump.
exactly,
And that did
exactly,
not resonate with
exactly.
enough of the American people. Like I said, that demographic of the majority that we have to shave off in order to really make that happen. And if people will say, well, why didn't they remember what happened, in his 4-year term, how abysmal, his handling of COVID was, the Muslim ban, his praising
But
of Putin and all these
people
things.
remember that economy for those first 2 years, as
But that
if
was Obama's economy.
but the but they did a very good job of
I think
making
people just
sure
have really short-term memory. I
that
think they
too.
know that, okay, under Biden, I don't feel like I'm in a better position, right? So of the two, like my amnesia about what, what those years were, 3 of which were living through COVID and, being sheltered in place and not being able to get, PPP or PPE and
Oh, the PPP loans.
but they remember getting the loans and they remember getting stimulus
They
checks.
remember that check, and they
They
remember
remember
that Donald
that.
Trump's name was on it, despite that, Joe
Yeah.
Biden gave him a check as well. But hey,
And despite the fact that Donald Trump actually delayed the disbursement of a lot of those checks in order to make sure that his name was on it,
I mean,
withholding aid from American people who needed it, who had been furloughed for their jobs, so that he can make sure that it said Donald J. Trump. And look, it paid off.
so here's my final remarks on this, and then I want to transition into some of the good things that happened this election cycle, because I think there's some historic stuff that's pretty cool, by way of like bills that passed and people who got voted into Congress. But my general thoughts first, and I have to read this because it is just easier for me to jot this. I've been working on this like all day. So let me just get this out. Okay, so I'm disappointed that Kamala lost, like many people. I'm looking at the reactions on social media. I'm looking at the listening to some of the reactions on news sites and stuff. And this impacted Black women in a way that I think is very interesting. Is too positive of a word. It's a bit disheartening. The sentiments that I've seen, like this growing sentiment by Black women who voted at a 92% clip, by the way, for Kamala, of course, while white women voted at a higher clip than they did before. I think it's like 54% or something like that for Trump. This growing sentiment of like moving forward for Black women to no longer be on the front lines on issues of others, because it's clear the message has been sent that no one speaks on their behalf.
No.
And that makes me sad.
Nope.
And I not single me out, self.
Yep.
Okay. I want Black women, hear me, okay? What y'all get together, okay? Y'all get in these rooms and y'all have y'all conversations. I know y'all have been crying and all this other stuff, because I get it. Y'all feel like y'all haven't been heard. Y'all get into these rooms and y'all make a decision. Whatever decisions y'all make, okay? I'm just gonna be by the door. All right. All right. I want y'all to do whatever it is that y'all feel like y'all need to do over the next 4 years to make sure that y'all hold y'all space for y'allself, okay? And make sure that y'all focus on self, focus on Black women, okay? And that goes for all Black women. I want y'all to, because I understand that, like I get it, and I can, it's going to be very interesting, and I'm curious about how the economy is going to adjust to this over the next 18 to 24 months. As we march towards midterms in 2026, I'm wondering what the state of the country will be at that time. I wonder what will be the pulse of Black and brown people at that time. And in 2028, I'm wondering what the pulse will be of Black women in voting and women voting in 2028, because I feel like this has been a blow of epic proportions that I think we will see ripples of still in 2028 if there is not a candidate that we can fully get behind. We are going to see
if there's going to be another
droves.
presidential election.
If there's going to be another presidential
You have
election,
to remember,
that is not
he won
hyperbole.
everything.
Yeah.
The House, the
I
Senate,
forgot to say that too. Yeah.
Congress.
Yeah.
All Republican, just like in 2016 when he won the first time. There is rumor that 2 Supreme Court justices are going to retire so that he can get 2 more picks. Which by then, his convictions are going to be erased.
He's not going to.
Nothing is going to happen to him.
He'll die first.
Nothing is going to happen to him.
Weird. He's 78.
He can legally any action that he takes as the president cannot be considered illegal. Right? That is by a Supreme Court ruling that happened. So he could very well legally order a militia or police departments or the military to attack protesters, and or like he has been saying, go against his political enemies. So there's that. If our democracy survives these next 4 years, and since you're singling yourself out, I'm just gonna real quick single me out. And in regards to Black women and our relentless crusade to support human rights efforts for everyone, y'all are on y'all fucking own.
Yeah.
Figure it out your goddamn selves.
Unfortunately.
Don't ask us for shit if it ain't got nothing to do with our babies, our sisters and our husbands, our fathers and our mothers.
Husband's a little iffy too.
Y'all can kiss our black asses.
Yeah.
Don't ask us for nothing else.
For sure. And I think again, I think that is y'all can get in that room and have that conversation and figure out how to make that decision for yourselves. I'm just saying, not as a deterrent to that, but just it's gonna be interesting, because I'm telling you, you 15 million people ain't seen sit down. Okay, if there is if we are not given someone to run against this man, who, if he technically he could run for another term, I believe. So it's going to be interesting. So
I think you can only serve 2 terms in totality.
You're right.
I think you can only serve 2 terms in totality.
Yeah, you're right.
The only time that is ever potentially extended is during war times, which
FDR. Yeah.
Could happen.
So final thing.
Yep.
This was a middle finger to the DNC, in my opinion, first. And unfortunately, that middle finger was then also extended to and served to women's rights, education, climate change, immigration, and basic human rights for all. That middle finger was given to all of those causes. But we live, and we just have to figure out how to build community. And here's to 4 years. Here's to the midterms coming up in 2026. And I just want to get into some better news about the election, if possible.
Go for it.
So for the first time, there were 2 Black women that were actually voted to serve simultaneously in the Senate. It's never happened before. First of all, only 4 Black women has ever been voted to the Senate.
Ever.
2 of them happened yesterday.
That's right.
So salute to Delaware's Lisa Blunt Rochester and Maryland's Angela also Brooks, fire last name, for those 2 Black women getting voted into the Senate.
Kamala was a senator.
She was
The vice president.
She was prosecutor.
prosecutor.
Served on the committees when she was cussing those white men out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, another very, 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 very.
And wasn't she like the attorney general of like California or something like
yes.
that? Or no, she was just one of those, the senator,
the district
and
attorney?
like
the DA. The Delaware also, Sarah McBride was voted to the House, and that is the first openly transgender person voted to Congress. It was announced, I believe, while I was literally giving my soliloquy, that Iowa's Amy Wichenthal was also voted to the House, who is now the second openly transgendered person voted to Congress. So there's progress in that regard. As far as it, we're talking about women's rights, and obviously abortion falls in that. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk about some of the bills that have passed in that regard across the different states. So there was a victory in Nevada for voting to take the first steps to enshrining abortion rights in their state constitution.
Right.
So that's a good thing to kind of seal that up on the state level. Maryland did the same. New York passed a equal rights amendment. Michigan voted to expand pro-abortion rights in their Supreme Court. Colorado did the same, for a vote. So there's a lot of different states. Missouri, Arizona voted to protect the abortion rights and end a 15-week ban. Like, there are a lot of states that have done some things to kind of seal up and almost prepare in a way for what will come potentially in changes to women's rights and abortion and stuff like that. So I just, these are just some things that are kind of good, that it happened. And I believe that is, I will take my seat.
Thank you, babe. Good job. What a summary. Okay. In other news, child, Quincy Delight Jones.
His middle name is Delight?
His middle name was Delight.
Oh my God.
Right?
This man was,
right? What
God
a treasure.
Took time making that.
Didn't
that
he
man.
Just?
Oh my God. 91 years old.
91 years old. He went on to be with them. Okay. The day before the elections, because he knew it was time to giddy on up. He said, "Oh no, it's time to go." I think he saw the writing on the wall.
I wonder if he voted. He probably voted.
And he got on up out of here. But that man,
one of a kind.
He is
101.
He is basically like the father of pop music,
Pretty
right?
much.
Like when you talk about, just to run down, like just by memory, just a list of his accolades. We are talking about the man who produced and wrote the Thriller album. This is a man.
Off the Wall, I think.
This is a man who worked with Frank Sinatra, Michael Jackson, Ray Charles.
Yes.
Okay, to name a few. He produced Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, so okay.
And wasn't he like the founder or the executive, some type of executive, I don't remember the name, of Vibe magazine.
Yeah.
Like he has over 24 Grammys.
Yeah.
He was a conductor.
Yeah.
Okay.
He arranged music.
He arranged music.
He arranged music for Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, one of the greatest talents of the late 20th and 21st century. 100%. Like, absolute treasure.
Had his own music. He played I think he was he a trumpet?
He made the theme song for was it Sanford and Son?
Yeah, any one thing.
The producer of The Color Purple.
Yep, any one thing that he did. If you look at the things and achievements that he did, if you just picked out one thing, when he produced Thriller, which he did at 49 years old, when he did Thriller for Michael, he could have stopped there, and he would have been. He would have been.
He's essentially lived like 4 lives.
He's lived like
what this
6
man.
lives.
He is another person who truly lived in his purpose.
Yeah.
He created. He could write anything. He could make any type of music.
He scored movies. He
yep.
arranged music.
Mm-hmm.
He produced music.
Mm-hmm.
He made his own music
mm-hmm.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely incredible. Brilliant. Creative. One of one.
101.
Rest in power. Rest in power, Quincy. Just had to give a little shout out to him. All right, babe. We're going to jump into some Am I Tripping?
All right, cool.
To close it out.
So we got 2 here.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have looked at them, but
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It was a peek. I didn't read them.
Okay. All right. Am I tripping? I caught my girlfriend with my sister in a compromising position. I've decided to forgive my girlfriend, but I want nothing to do with my sister ever again. Am I tripping?
Did he say he didn't? So he doesn't want anything to do with his
sister, but he forgave his girlfriend. I caught my girlfriend with my sister in a compromising position. I can only assume that this compromising position was something sexual. Probably. That your girlfriend and your sister decided to get it in. She felt as though she got the wrong sibling and essentially decided to be a munch. Are you tripping? I mean, sir, you can feel however you want to feel. This is your life. Do what you want to do.
I don't know if you should have forgave. I don't know if you should forgave your girlfriend.
In my mind, I would have said F them to both of them. My sister is like, first of all, bro, you are my kin. Like you are my family. Why would you betray me in such a way? But to forgive your girlfriend, like she didn't also betray you in a way that to me is unforgivable. I could never catch one of my siblings, in a compromising position with you. That's gross. That's something that I could never. I don't even know how you come back from something like that. Like your whole entire world is shit. It is upside the fuck down. What do I do with that? How am I supposed to go back to work?
Does it matter what position it was?
It doesn't. It was compromising. Which means that my sanity has now been compromised. If we're talking about compromising, I don't even understand what am I supposed to do with this?
The only thing I would say is what makes you forgive the girlfriend? That's all. I'm just curious about that
coochie.
Yeah, but
you can't fuck his sister.
Yeah, but you can get
unless he's Jamie Lannister.
But you can get another coochie.
Maybe it's really superb coochie. Maybe it's really superb coochie. It is, and he could be a type of person who doesn't have like the paradox of choice. He doesn't, what was it? We were watching Shrinking. They were talking. She was like, "Does my son look like the type of a boy that gets to choose who he has sex with?" Absolutely not. He takes what he can get. Maybe he's somebody who's just taking what he can get. And so I mean, I feel like you tripping because I would have said to hell with the both of them.
Yeah, but you gave a lot of leniency to the girlfriend. That's the only thing. But outside of that, nah, bro. That's traumatizing in a way. That only a few people on the planet I feel like can relate to. That's a weird. That's crazy.
Even understand where you go with that information. Like you walk into that room and you're just like,
whoa.
I need the Men in Black like forget me like thing. Like just zap me, just flash me because I don't need to know this. Like, I don't want to know. You're
never gonna know.
Yeah, you're never gonna know. I will just ignore it for the rest of my days.
I will take the next one.
Let's go.
My wife and I can't agree on what kind of car to get my son for his 16th birthday. We make good money, so she wants to get him a new entry-level luxury car. I told her we, underline we,
Come on.
make good money, not him.
Come on.
So he needs to work his way up to luxury and start with a cheap car. Am I tripping?
I mean, I personally don't think you're tripping. I tend to agree with that sentiment. I mean, we talked last episode or no, episode before about the idea of whether or not you should reward your kids with like monetary monetary gifts. And we talked through the kind of the psychopathy of that perspective and where it could be flawed and where it could be helpful. In some instances, I tend to agree that everything needs to be throttled. You need to scale things need to be put into context and perspective. And for people who have means, maybe that is not as important, because the perspective is we got it. And it ain't tricking if you got it. You know what I'm saying? If I can spend money to get my 16-year-old a baby Benz because I feel as though they deserve it, then that's my prerogative. I'm acting my wage, right? For me, an entry-level luxury vehicle is just that, entry level. For you, entry level may be a Honda, and that's fine, and that's 100% fine. The truth of the matter is just like to me, you and your wife just need to be on one accord. If y'all don't believe that that's something that's appropriate, then talk about why it feels inappropriate to just give your child something that they have not, that they don't really understand
at 16.
Yeah, what it entails to acquire something of such wealth. I feel like when you minimize the value of a dollar to a kid, it has long-lasting effects with their relationship to money.
Yep.
And with money. And for us as a community, that's not a resource that comes by easily, right? The resources and the access to those things are hard, and the education around it is even harder. Not necessarily to come by, but like sometimes you got to know the questions to ask in order to get to the places that you want to get. And so when it comes to our relationship with money in particular, I don't think it should just be given away. I don't think you should just gift a 16-year-old who already don't know nothing about nothing, right? Everything that you have given them up until that point has been given to them. So giving them a $60,000 car or something like that, I think is really irresponsible. But that's just me personally. But if I'm somebody who is a millionaire, maybe $60,000 ain't that deep.
I think it depends on the 16-year-old in terms of like, okay, so however, common ground, however they got to this point, they've unlocked in your mind that they can get a car at 16 years old.
You have obviously ascertained that by the merit of their work that they deserve,
that they've unlocked,
that they
may
deserve
get a
this
car
gift.
at 16,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Now the caliber of car is where I guess we're having a conversation. And to me, I don't know if money matters unless you're like crazy rich. But even if you're, well off, I think just because you drive an X5 fully loaded BMW or a Tesla Model X or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean that your kid has to drive that. I think sometimes the perception too is like, it's kind of like kids in clothes. Like if I'm dressed up and I look nice, then my kid can't look bummy.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That translates to other things. And I feel like sometimes that translates to, once you unlock these certain items, like a car, you want to make sure that there's some balance there. There don't need to be.
It doesn't.
And that doesn't mean that, you get them something that has the transmission on the flow.
Yeah, you don't have to get a beater that's leaking oil.
It just needs to be
fluid.
reliable. It don't have,
Right.
You don't got to get something with dents in it, but a nice little Honda,
Ain't nothing
Accord.
wrong with you, little Honda Accord.
Little Honda Civic, you know what I'm saying? Something light, just to get them started.
Nice little.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Excuse me, a little Camry, a little Toyota Camry. You know.
But to start them off with, as the mom says, a new entry level luxury car. So now we're talking 3 Series BMW, baby Benz.
I'm talking about a cute little Lexus.
A little cute little Lexus, something like that.
Land Rover.
I understand it. Oh no, that's wild.
That's OD. Okay.
Range Rover, but that's
Range. Cool.
wild. But I I I don't think that's necessary. It is a conversation though. So if you want to
100%.
jump to like, did they? Because they qualified for car. They didn't qualify for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Did they invent something? Like, is there a patent
is there
now?
a patent? Did they get $200,000 in
Right.
scholarships?
Did they get a full ride scholarship to an Ivy League school?
Yeah. Did they? Or do they have college credits already? Like,
come on.
What is it that this
what
16-year-old
did they
has
do?
done? It can't just be they cleaned their room and made dinner.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
So
yeah.
it's just a conversation.
It is.
I don't think he's tripping about it. I think he's just trying to be responsible.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, I love the underscore of we make good money. You don't make nothing. I like that assertion.
It's true.
I like that assertion.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. You don't make anything.
Yeah, you come downstairs, get cereal, go back upstairs, play video games in this nice room that I pay for all the electricity and the water and your shoes
at my expense. Okay, so
your AirPods and your
everything.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything.
So
100%.
yeah.
All right, y'all. Did we do it?
I think we did it, man.
We did. We did. If y'all still rocking with us, we appreciate it. Okay.
Of course.
Make sure that you comment, like, subscribe, share.
Share that thing.
Okay. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And find us on the One Thing for Certain pod on all things, wherever you find your podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. And no matter where y'all go after this, make sure y'all go with God. Okay.
Go with God.
So One Thing for Certain podcast, y'all. Peace.
Deuces. Rolo.
Oh my goodness.